Hey, so your experience with JUCO was was a pretty good experience. You got to play. Um, what about UND? Did you have a lot of different offers coming out of the junior college to play, or was UND your only option?
No, I mean, I wanted to leave um, in the spring at first, and at the time, I was young. Nobody at the junior college really uh, told me how the recruiting game, what it was like. So, looking back at it, I was naive, and I thought that I was set in stone to go at that point to the University of Arizona. So I didn't apply myself at all anymore. It ended up, them signing somebody else, and I was left with nothing. So I tell these young kids now too, like you got to keep your options open because schools do the same thing. And I had to learn that the hard way. So I had to stay another semester in JUCO, just take some classes and just working out. And at the end of spring, schools they need guys. They need guys that can step in right away. So at one point, the offers started coming in, and I did all my visual visits. And at one point in time, I just said, I got to make a decision this weekend because time is ticking, and that's right at the time when all the schools are looking to fill spots. And I just told myself, I'm doing these two visits in this last weekend, and then I'm going to make a decision. And then there was a bunch of other schools that were like on the verge of sending me an offer, and I told them like, I'm making a decision this Saturday. You either you either get on with it right now or I'm signing. And I just had the best feeling with UND. And looking back at it, I don't regret it at all. It was a great place to be around. Football was all that mattered in Grand Forks, North Dakota, except for hockey. Then hockey was
Right.
the biggest thing in Grand Forks. But you just had a bunch of community support, and it was just a great program, an historic program to be a part of, and it was a great experience.
So, hey, take me back to then. What did you say? University of Arizona. They're in the mix. Like, what was that like? Did they say, "Hey, we like you. We're gonna give you a scholarly"? Were they being hesitant?
Yeah,
How did that go
it
about?
was actually like my at the end of my freshman season. My freshman season I did pretty well as well. So they needed a guy to come in the spring after my sophomore season. So all summer long, they were hitting me up. My mailbox was filled with Arizona junk mail, and coach called me like every week, as many times how as they're allowed to call you. And I thought I was set in stone. I didn't invest my time in recruiting anywhere, in going anywhere else, because I thought it was a great school. I don't need anything else. And then it was like halfway through my sophomore season, and the attention started to get a little bit less. And then
Hmm.
I kind of felt like something's not right now. And I just looked online, and they found out they signed somebody else. And
Wow.
then I was like, I don't want to say panic, but I was like, damn, this whole season I didn't apply myself at all. I didn't go look to get recruited. I didn't ask nobody to help me. And I wanted to leave like right that semester. So I actually took 24 credits during the fall semester, so during football, so I could finish up early and leave. And then I ended up with only like D2 offers, so I decided to come back for the spring,
Man.
while I was already graduated. There was times that I was like, damn, maybe it's not for me, and I'm not gonna get a spot. Uh, but the coaches around me were saying like, oh yeah, yeah, you're gonna get your shot. I was a little bit hesitant because I was like, y'all keep saying that, but
Yeah.
I don't have nothing. I don't have nothing to show for it. But
Facts.
at the end of the day, it turned out all right, and I had a great experience at UND. Had a great career, even though when I first got there, I wasn't playing at all. So that was
Hmm.
also like something I just had to I had to keep faith in myself, and that it'll all work out at the end. And then my senior season was, looking back at it, was just a huge success for me personally. And as with the team that we had, we won conference. So ended with a bang. Got myself a ring. So that was great.
Man, I think it's crazy to think about. Like a lot of times that happens. I talk to a lot of players that are, I mean, international players. There's a lot of coaches, promising a lot, but I think that's the big turning point for athletes where they realize it's really a business that you're stepping into,
Yep.
and as long as you don't have anything on paper contract, it doesn't matter what they're telling you or who you're talking to. It doesn't really matter. They're looking
Exactly.
to protect their brand and protect their university. And a lot of times
Exactly.
too, the coaches they're looking, where am I gonna how am I gonna
But
support my family? If I can get a guy that I know
yeah,
it's a better fit, they'll take that.
but
Doesn't matter how long they've been talking to you. So
truth
wow,
be told, like it's good that it is that way, but it would have helped me if I had somebody to tell me that beforehand, that that's what it was like, because then I would have went out and applied myself a little bit more. So I keep trying to tell the young Dutch kids that I talk to that are in that same process right now, like, hey, keep your options open. Like, I'm a loyal guy, but they drop you like this without even hesitating. So you gotta have that same mindset when it comes to this business, because you're gonna finish last, every time, unfortunately.
absolutely. Yeah, that's good advice. So, there's a lot of going on, a lot going on. I don't know how it was when I mean, I know what it was like when you try to make the transition into the US. There was not a lot of people getting recruited, but there's a lot more going on. There's a lot of organizations that help kids take that next step. What is the number one advice coming from you if you're trying to make that step, even in football or any other sport? What do you think is the most important thing?
I mean, if that's something that you want to do, just go for it. Take every opportunity you can get. And like you said, nowadays, like, if you want to and you're at least have some talent to make it, there's no reason that you can't do it other than yourself not wanting to do it. And there's a bunch of people that say they want to do it, but they don't put their money where their mouth is. Like, you got to invest a lot of time, you got to sacrifice a big part of your life. At the time for me, it was also investing a lot of money. So I had to, like, every summer I came home from college and I had to work full time. When I was here, I had to work while being enrolled in college, just uh, make it happen financially. And that's tough. And I see people not not making that step because of that. But then you don't really want it. I don't believe that. Like, you really gotta you gotta invest with everything that you got. And if you want to make it happen, it's up to you. And nowadays it's a lot easier. Like, back in the day when I had to do it, nobody was really waiting for me. Nobody was recruiting me. Nobody really wanted me. But I just made sure that I made it happen all by myself, pretty much, and it turned out okay. And I'm very happy that I got that experience, because it also taught me a lot about life and about a different country. And it was just, it made me a better person. That's for sure.
Absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing is just like the adversity that you go through. Because in your mind, you're like, man, this is going to be great. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to ball out. They're going to love me. And that might happen too. But a lot of times there's some snag in the road where you feel like, oh, man,
Yep,
I didn't expect this. And I think it's just like, that's what everything, that's what sports, right?
exactly. They also promised me California, and on the brochure it had palm trees and everything on it. But let me tell you, Kalinga, California ain't nothing like that. Like, there's no place out here in Europe that can compare to the shithole that Kalinga, California is. It was just in the middle of the desert, like, nothing to do, nothing. But funny thing is that that is what made the experience the experience. That's what why everybody that was out there didn't have anything and nothing to do. So that just made us all focus on each other and focus on football. And we got better from it. And I still talk to a bunch of those guys to this day because we were down there in the gutter with just us, and I didn't
Right.
have the pretty red carpet experience at all. But
Yeah.
just that story and that road that you took that just made you the person and the player that you are today. And I'm just grateful for it that it just turned out the way it did.
So I like you said, it's it's the journey you're taking. So you said, when you came in your junior year at UND, you weren't playing right away. How does that feel? Like, what was your mindset behind that? Were you bummed out? Did you say like, hey man, I just got to make it happen. Whatever happens, I
Yeah,
got to get on
and
the field.
I actually ended up redshirting my first year, and coming in from JUCO and like getting recruited to be a guy right away, and having to make that step was tough at first. But that first year, I got it. I wasn't at the level, especially mentally, and like learning the playbook that the guys that were starting over me had. So I wasn't. It didn't feel unfair that year. My second year, it started to kind of feel a little bit unfair at times because I felt like I was ready. I felt like I was the guy, but I was just still being put behind other guys that I just felt like I was better than. A bunch of times I talk to kids that are out there going through that same situation because that's just the way football works. You're gonna ride the bench at one point in your career, and you just gotta stick with it and just make sure you show up every day, be the best you can in practice, and if you get your shot, you're gonna get your shot. If you don't, you don't. But then at least you can look yourself in the mirror and look at that guy and be proud of the guy and be proud of what you do every day. And for me, it actually ended up being like this blowout game my junior year. We were getting blown out by Montana. And, it was like the final minutes of the fourth quarter, and it was kind of like one of those games like, all right, Bakker get in. And, I just lit somebody up in those few plays that I got that game. And it was just from that moment that, coach had faith in me, like, he can light people up. And that just was just one little hurdle that I probably had to go through in his mind. And from that day on, I was a guy for him. So it's all it takes is just that one little spark, that one little moment. But you just
Right.
got to make sure that up to that point, you put in the work, you show up every day, you don't get discouraged, you just do the right thing every day. And if it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, don't be bummed out because you just did everything in your power to get there. And then it's up to somebody else or up to fate if you're gonna get that chance.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. The thing that I notice is, man, I feel like I was blessed. I played a lot, but there was also a lot of players on my team that I thought were really good, and they were really good, but they never got to play. So there's like this weird thing with football, especially because it's so physical. There's a bunch of guys that I've seen that are like, yo, these are top guys. Either they get hurt and never play, or it's just like the coach just don't like them and they just don't get played, and that kind of sucks. But that's part of the game. Like you said, if you stay ready, then the opportunity will come. You just gotta go out there and knock somebody
Exactly.
knock somebody
And
out. Um,
I mean, I went to JUCO, so I seen a bunch of people like NFL caliber talent fall off the cliff just because they weren't persistent in just doing the right thing the whole time. They don't get the chance right away. They get discouraged. They don't perform in practice well anymore. But you just gotta grind there every day. You gotta make sure that you're the same guy every day. Just get the work, get your practice in. Make sure you get the best out of yourself, and then you just gotta be ready when that opportunity hits. And when it does, just make the most of it. But
right.
just don't get discouraged too quick because not everything is gonna be handed to you. It's not always gonna be fair either. But you just gotta live with that and just make sure that doesn't discourage you and the growth that you experience yourself.